Comment where you're watching from today, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more incredible true stories. The year was 1994, and the Chicago Bulls practice facility stood as a testament to greatness, its walls echoing with the legacy of championships. The morning sun cast long shadows through the high windows, illuminating the empty court where countless battles had been fought and won. But today would witness a different kind of confrontation, one that would teach a lasting lesson about respect, humility, and the true nature of greatness. Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player of all time, had recently shocked the world by retiring from the NBA at the peak of his career. While many speculated about his reasons, Jordan found solace in private practice sessions, arriving at dawn when the facility was usually deserted. This morning, however, would prove different. As Jordan moved through his familiar routine, the sound of the facility's doors echoing through the empty gym caught his attention. A group of teenagers walked in, led by William Anderson, a high school basketball sensation who had been making headlines in the local papers. The young athlete carried himself with the kind of confidence that bordered on arrogance, his designer basketball shoes squeaking against the polished hardwood. William was accompanied by his usual entourage, Lucas Mitchell, Benjamin Clark, and Noah Turner, all wearing expensive basketball gear and sporting the latest sneakers. They stopped in their tracks when they spotted Jordan, but William's reaction wasn't one of awe or respect. Instead, a smirk played across his face as he nudged his friends. "Look who it is," William announced loudly, his voice carrying across the empty court. "The guy who quit when things got tough." His friends shifted uncomfortably, but William pressed on, emboldened by his recent string of high school victories and the attention he'd been receiving from college scouts. Jordan continued his shooting routine, each ball finding its mark with mechanical precision. He had heard the whispers and criticisms about his retirement, but he had learned long ago that actions spoke louder than words. The teenagers watched as shot after shot swished through the net, the rhythmic sound punctuating the tense atmosphere. William's confidence grew with each passing moment of Jordan's silence. "They say you're the greatest," he called out, dribbling a basketball with exaggerated flair. "But legends don't quit. Maybe you just couldn't handle the pressure anymore." The words hung in the air like a challenge. Jordan finally turned, fixing William with a gaze that had intimidated the greatest players in NBA history. But instead of anger, there was something else in his eyes, a glimmer of recognition. He had once been young and cocky too, convinced of his own invincibility. "You think you've got what it takes, young fella?" Jordan's voice was calm, measured, carrying the weight of experience. "Sometimes the biggest lessons come from the moments we least expect." William's friends exchanged nervous glances. They knew about Jordan's legendary competitiveness, his almost mythical ability to turn any challenge into fuel for dominance. But William was too caught up in his own hype to notice the warning signs. "1-on-1, William declared, his voice carrying a hint of challenge. "First to 11, unless you're worried about losing to a high school kid." He spun the ball on his finger, a trick he had perfected to impress college scouts. Jordan's response was simple. He removed his warm-up jacket and walked to the center of the court. The atmosphere in the gym shifted, charged with anticipation. William's friends backed away, forming an impromptu audience for what they sensed would be more than just a game. As they faced off at half-court, the contrast between them was striking. William, young and brash, bouncing with nervous energy, his new basketball shoes still pristine. Jordan, composed and focused, his well-worn practice gear telling stories of countless hours of dedication. "Your ball," Jordan said, his voice carrying no trace of emotion. "Show me what you've got." William started with his best move, a quick crossover that had become his signature in high school games. But Jordan didn't just defend. He read the Play before it happened, his footwork a masterclass in defensive positioning. The ball ricocheted off William's knee, rolling out of bounds. "First lesson," Jordan said quietly, retrieving the ball. "Basics before flash." What followed was not just a game, but a methodical deconstruction of youthful overconfidence. Jordan scored with surgical precision, each point accompanied by a lesson. A fadeaway jumper taught William about creating space. A defensive stop demonstrated the importance of footwork. A drive to the basket showed the value of patience. William's friends watched in silence as their leader, who had dominated their high school competition, struggled to even maintain possession against Jordan. The squeak of sneakers and the bounce of the ball echoed through the gym, punctuated by Jordan's occasional words of instruction. "Basketball isn't about who has the flashiest moves," Jordan explained after another steal. "It's about understanding the game, respecting it, and putting in the work when nobody's watching." The score mounted 2-0, 5-0, 8-0. Williams' initial bravado crumbled with each possession, replaced by a growing realization. This wasn't just a game, it was a lesson in humility, delivered by a master of the craft. Lucas Mitchell, watching from the sideline, couldn't help but whisper to Benjamin Clark, "This is why he's the greatest." It's not just about talent, it's about mentality. At 10-0, Jordan paused, holding the ball and looking at William, who was now drenched in sweat and breathing heavily. "Want to know why I retired?" he asked, his voice carrying across the quiet. "Jim, because sometimes the biggest challenges aren't on the court. They're the ones we face within ourselves." The final point wasn't a spectacular dunk or a long-range shot. Instead, Jordan executed a simple, fundamental move, a textbook jump shot that swished through the net with characteristic precision. 11-0. Game over. William stood at center court, hands on his knees, the weight of the lesson sinking in. His friends approached cautiously, unsure of how to react to their leader's humbling defeat. But Jordan wasn't finished teaching. He walked over to William, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You've got talent," he acknowledged, "but talent without humility is like a car without brakes. Eventually it's going to crash." The teenager looked up, expecting to see mockery or disdain in Jordan's eyes. Instead, he found understanding and wisdom. "I was like you once," Jordan continued. "Thought I knew everything about the game. But every day, even now, I learn something new. That's the real secret to greatness." William nodded slowly, his earlier arrogance replaced by a newfound respect, not just for Jordan, but for the game itself. "Thank you," he managed to say, his voice carrying a sincerity that had been absent earlier. As Jordan gathered his things to leave, he turned back to the group of teenagers. "Remember this morning," he said, "not because you saw Michael Jordan, but because you learned what it really means to respect the game." The lesson echoed far beyond that morning in the gym. William Anderson would go on to have a successful college career, but he never forgot the day he challenged Michael Jordan. More importantly, he never forgot the humility and wisdom that true greatness carried with it. In the years that followed, whenever William coached young players or spoke about basketball, he would share this story, not as a tale of embarrassment, but as a testament to the importance of humility, respect, and the endless journey of learning. And somewhere in that empty gym, the echo of that lesson still resonates. Greatness isn't about proving you're better than others. It's about proving you're better than you were yesterday. Have you ever had a humbling experience that taught you an important life lesson? Share your story in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more incredible true stories of lessons learned and lives changed. The aftermath of the one-on-one game rippled through the local basketball community like a stone cast in still water. As William Anderson sat in the locker room of his high school gym later that day, the morning's events played on repeat in his mind. The squeak of Jordan's shoes, the precise arc of each shot, and most importantly, the lessons embedded in every move still echoed in his thoughts. His teammate James Mitchell found him there, still contemplating the morning's events. "I heard what happened at the Bulls facility," James said, sitting down beside his usually confident friend. "Everyone's talking about it." News traveled fast in the basketball world, especially when it involved Michael Jordan. By lunchtime, the story had spread through the halls of their high school, transformed and embellished with each retelling. Some versions painted William as foolish for challenging the greatest player of all time, while others admired his courage. Misguided, as it might have been, but William wasn't thinking about the gossip or the stories. His mind was fixed on something Jordan had said: "Talent without humility is like a car without brakes." The words had struck deeper than any defensive move or scoring play from their one-sided game. The school's gymnasium was preparing for afternoon practice when William finally emerged from the locker room. Coach Henry Green, a former college player who had been mentoring William throughout his high school career, was already there, setting up for drills. "Heard you had quite the morning," Coach Green said, his voice carrying neither judgment nor amusement. "Want to talk about it?" William nodded slowly, helping his coach arrange the cones for practice. "I thought I knew everything about basketball," he admitted. "I thought being the best in our league meant something, but watching Jordan move, seeing how he approached every single play like it was Game 7 of the finals, it was different." Coach Green had seen this moment coming. William's talent had always been obvious, but so had his growing ego. Sometimes the best lessons came from the hardest falls. "You know," the coach began, "I played against Jordan once back in college. Want to know what impressed me the most?" William looked up, curiosity replacing the lingering embarrassment in his eyes. "It wasn't his scoring or his defense," Coach Green continued. "It was how he practiced. Hours before the game, long after everyone else had left, he was working on the basics, the same fundamental moves he'd probably practiced thousands of times before." As their teammates began filtering into the gym, led by Alexander Hall and Oliver Clark, William found himself viewing them differently. These were the guys he'd been playing with for years, but how often had he really worked to make them better rather than just showcasing his own skills? Practice that day was different. Instead of dominating the scrimmage as he usually did, William focused on setting up his teammates, calling out defensive rotations and applying the fundamental principles he'd learned that morning. His friends noticed the change, exchanging confused but appreciative glances as William passed, instead of taking contested shots. During a water break, Benjamin Nelson approached William. "You're playing different today," he observed. "What did Jordan really say to you?" William took a long drink before responding. "He showed me that being great isn't about proving you're better than everyone else. It's about making everyone around you better." The afternoon practice session transformed into something unexpected. What started as a regular high school basketball practice became a lesson in teamwork and humility. William shared what he'd learned from Jordan, not as boastful stories about facing the legend, but as genuine insights about the game and life. "Jordan told me that the real secret to greatness is knowing you can always learn something new," William explained to his teammates during a huddle. "Even he still learns every day." Coach Green watched from the sidelines as his star player evolved. Before his eyes, the morning's humbling experience hadn't broken William's confidence. It had transformed it into something more valuable: wisdom. As practice wound down, Emma Phillips, the school newspaper's sports editor, approached William for a comment about the morning's encounter. She had heard various versions of the story and wanted the truth for her article. "Tell them it wasn't about the score," William said after a moment's reflection. "Tell them it was about the lesson. Sometimes you have to get knocked down to learn how to stand up stronger." The next few days saw a subtle but significant change in William's approach to both basketball and life. He arrived early for practice, working on fundamentals before his teammates showed up. He started mentoring younger players, sharing the insights he'd gained from his brief but impactful encounter with Jordan. Lucas Turner, a freshman who had always admired William from afar, found himself receiving personal coaching on his footwork. "It's like you're a different person," Lucas commented during one of these sessions. William smiled, remembering Jordan's words. "Not different," he corrected. "Just better than I was yesterday." The story of William's one-on-one game with Jordan could have been a tale of humiliation, but instead, it became a story of transformation. Local basketball coaches began using it as a teaching tool, reminding their players that true greatness comes from humility and hard work. Even William's parents noticed the change in their son. His father, watching him practice in their driveway one evening, remarked how his son's game had evolved. "You're playing smarter," he observed, "more controlled." "Jordan showed me that basketball isn't just about being better than the person in front of you," William explained, executing a perfect fundamental layup. "It's about being better than you were before." The following week, William's team faced their biggest rivals, led by the talented Elijah Scott. In previous matchups, these games had been showcases for William's individual talent. This time was different. From the opening tip, William played with a new purpose. He orchestrated the offense with precision, made the extra pass, and played defense with fundamental soundness rather than looking for spectacular steals. His teammates responded to this new approach, playing with increased confidence and unity. During a crucial timeout in the fourth quarter, with the game hanging in the balance, William gathered his team. "Remember what we practiced," he said, echoing Jordan's teaching style. "Trust the fundamentals, trust each other." The team pulled out a victory not through individual heroics, but through textbook execution and teamwork. In the post-game celebration, Coach Green pulled William aside. "You've learned more from one loss than from all your wins combined," he said proudly. The local paper's headline the next day read, "Anderson leads team to victory with Jordan-inspired performance." But the real story wasn't in the headline or the box score. It was in the way William had transformed a moment of humility into a catalyst for growth. As the season progressed, William's reputation began to change. He was no longer just known as the talented player who had challenged Michael Jordan to a one-on-one game. He became known as the player who learned from it, who used that experience to make himself and his team better. College scouts who came to watch him play noted the evolution in his game. "He's playing with maturity beyond his years," one scout commented to Coach Green. Whatever happened with Jordan that day, it changed him for the better. In the quiet moments before games, William would often think back to that morning in the Bulls' practice facility. The memory no longer brought embarrassment but gratitude. Jordan had given him something more valuable than a basketball lesson. He had shown him the true path to greatness. Isabella Mitchell, the team's statistician, approached William after a particularly impressive team victory. "Your numbers are actually better now," she noted, "even though you're shooting less." William nodded, understanding the irony. By focusing less on proving his individual greatness, he had become a truly great player. The lesson continued to ripple outward. Other players in the league who had heard about Williams' experience began approaching the game differently. The focus shifted from individual showcases to team excellence, from flashy moves to fundamental mastery. Have you ever had a moment that completely changed your perspective on something you thought you understood? Share your story in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring tales of growth and transformation. As winter turned to spring, the impact of Williams' encounter with Michael Jordan continued to resonate throughout the basketball community. The story had taken on a life of its own, spreading beyond their local league to become a powerful parable about humility, growth, and the true nature of greatness. One morning, William arrived at the gym to find Oliver Young, a rival player from across town, waiting for him. Oliver had been known for his flashy style and social media highlights, much like William before his transformative experience. "I heard what happened with Jordan," Oliver said, bouncing a basketball nervously. "I've been watching how your game changed since then. Think you could show me what you learned?" This moment marked a significant shift. William, once the brash challenger, was now becoming a mentor himself. He remembered Jordan's patience that morning, how the legend had turned what could have been a humiliating defeat into a masterclass in basketball and life lessons. "First thing Jordan taught me," William began, taking the ball and demonstrating, "a simple defensive stance is that everything starts with the fundamentals. No matter how good you think you are, you never outgrow the basics." Over the next few weeks, more players began showing up for these early morning sessions. Harper Mitchell, Charlotte Clark, and James Turner, all talented players from different schools, set aside their rival status to learn together. The Bulls' practice facility had become a sort of basketball sanctuary, where egos were left at the door and the pure essence of the game was celebrated. Coach Henry Green noticed the change spreading through the league. Games were becoming more about skill and strategy than individual showboating. Players who had once competed for social media highlights were now competing to make the best fundamental play, the smartest pass, the most effective defensive rotation. During a particularly memorable morning session, Noah Roberts, a freshman with incredible natural talent but a resistant attitude toward coaching, challenged William's teaching methods. "Why are we doing these basic drills?" Noah complained, frustrated with the repetitive nature of the fundamental exercises. "I can already do all this stuff." William smiled, remembering his own similar thoughts not so long ago. "Let me tell you exactly what Jordan showed me," he said, gathering everyone around. "He didn't beat me with spectacular dunks or impossible shots. He beat me with perfect footwork, precise timing, and unshakable fundamentals. The basics aren't beneath you. They're the foundation of everything great. The impact extended beyond just playing style." Alexander Hall, their school's point guard, had been struggling with the pressure of leading the team. After one of the morning sessions, he approached William with a question that went beyond basketball. "How do you handle it now?" Alexander asked. "The pressure, the expectations, especially after everything that happened." William thought back to Jordan's words about facing challenges within ourselves. "Jordan taught me that pressure is a privilege," he explained. "It means you're in a position to make a difference, but the key is focusing on the process, not the outcome." The local basketball scene was transforming. Games that had once been dominated by individual scoring displays were now showcasing teamwork and strategic play. Coaches reported that their players were more coachable, more focused on fundamentals, and more interested in the subtle aspects of the game. Emma Phillips, still covering sports for the school paper, wrote a follow-up article titled "The Jordan Effect: How One Game Changed Our Basketball Culture." She interviewed William about the ongoing impact of his experience. "It's funny," William reflected during the interview. "I thought challenging Jordan would prove how great I was. Instead, it showed me how much greater I could become by focusing on the right things." The story caught the attention of Benjamin Clark, a former professional player who now ran basketball camps in the area. He invited William to speak to his campers about his experience and the lessons he had learned. Standing before a group of young players, William felt the weight of responsibility. These kids were like he had been, talented, ambitious, and perhaps too focused on the wrong aspects of the game. "I walked into that gym thinking I was going to show up Michael Jordan," William told them. "Instead, he showed me what basketball and greatness is really about. It's not about proving you're better than someone else. It's about proving you're better than you were yesterday." The impact of William's transformation extended beyond basketball. Teachers noticed a change in his classroom approach, more focused, more humble, more willing to help others. His English teacher, Ms. Isabella Anderson, commented on how he had begun relating literature discussions to lessons learned on the court. During a study of Greek mythology, William drew parallels between his experience and the concept of hubris. Like Icarus, he explained to his classmates, I flew too close to the sun, but unlike him, I was lucky enough to learn from the fall. The season was drawing to a close, and William's team had made it to the state championships. In the locker room before the final game, Coach Green found William leading the team through their preparation, not with fiery speeches or boasts, but with calm, focused instruction. Remember what we learned, William told his teammates. Trust, the fundamentals, trust each other. Every great play starts with doing the simple things right. The championship game itself became a showcase of everything William had learned and taught since that morning with Jordan. His team faced a highly rated opponent led by Elijah Mitchell, a player known for his spectacular individual performances. As the game unfolded, the contrast in styles became evident. While Elijah sought to dominate through individual brilliance, William orchestrated his team's offense with precision and patience. Each possession became a clinic in fundamental basketball. During a crucial timeout in the fourth quarter, with the game hanging in the balance, William gathered his team. The scene eerily mirrored that morning months ago when he had faced Jordan, but now he was the one sharing wisdom. This isn't about making headlines, he told them. It's about making the right play every time down the court. That's what greatness really is. The game came down to the final possession. In the past, William would have demanded the ball, looking to create a highlight reel moment. Instead, he read the defense and made the extra pass to Lucas Hall, who was open in the corner. The shot went in, and the team erupted in celebration. In the midst of the victory celebration, William caught sight of a familiar figure watching from the stands. Michael Jordan had come to witness the transformation he had helped initiate. Their eyes met briefly, and Jordan gave a subtle nod of approval. The next morning, the headlines celebrated the team's victory, but the real story was in the way they had won. The game film would be used by coaches for years to come, not for spectacular plays, but for its demonstration of basketball played the right way. As William packed up his locker for the last time that season, he found a note from Coach Green. "You didn't just become a better player," it read. "You became a better leader, a better teammate, and a better person. That's what Jordan was trying to teach you all along." The story of William's transformation continued to inspire others. Young players who heard about it began approaching the game differently, understanding that true greatness wasn't about individual moments of brilliance, but about consistent dedication to fundamentals and teamwork. Have you ever had a mentor who completely changed your perspective on something you thought you understood? Share your story in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories about life-changing moments and valuable lessons learned. 5 years had passed since that transformative morning in the Bulls practice facility. William Anderson stood at center court of his old high school gym, now as an assistant coach at his alma mater, watching a new generation of players work on their fundamentals. The lessons he learned from Michael Jordan had become the foundation of his coaching philosophy. The gym looked different now, adorned with the championship banner his team had won during his senior year. But the essence remained the same. It was still a place where young players came to chase their dreams, just as he had done half a decade ago. Oliver Mitchell, one of his current players, reminded William of himself before the Jordan encounter. Talented, confident, and perhaps too focused on spectacle over substance. During a practice session, Oliver attempted an unnecessary behind-the-back pass that resulted in a turnover. "Let me tell you a story," William said, gathering the team around. "It's about the day I thought I could challenge the greatest player of all time, and how that moment changed everything I understood about basketball." The players sat transfixed as William shared his experience. He had told this story many times, over the years, but each telling revealed new insights, new layers of understanding about what Jordan had really taught him that morning. "Jordan didn't just show me how to play basketball better," William explained. "He showed me how to understand it deeper. Every move has a purpose. Every decision impacts the team. And true greatness isn't about what you can do. It's about what you can help others achieve." Henry Hall, now the head coach, watched from the sidelines with approval. He had witnessed William's transformation firsthand and had supported his journey into coaching. "The best teachers," he often said, "are the ones who've learned the hardest lessons themselves." The impact of that one-on-one game had rippled far beyond their local community. William had received letters and messages from players and coaches across the country who had heard his story and found inspiration in it. Each shared how the lesson of humility and fundamental excellence had influenced their approach to the game. One afternoon, James Green, a former teammate who had gone on to play college basketball, returned to visit. They sat in the empty gym, discussing how that morning with Jordan had influenced their lives long after their playing days. "You know what's crazy?" James reflected. "That game you lost might have helped more players than any game you ever won." William nodded, understanding the profound truth in those words. Jordan knew exactly what he was doing that morning. He wasn't just teaching me basketball, he was teaching me about life. The lesson continued to evolve. William had started a summer basketball camp focused on fundamentals and character development. Young players came not just to improve their game, but to learn the deeper lessons about humility, hard work, and the true meaning of success. Benjamin Nelson, now a successful college player, returned to help with the camp. He had been one of the witnesses to William's transformative moment and had incorporated those lessons into his own journey. "The kids today don't just need to learn how to play," Benjamin observed during a water break. "They need to learn how to learn. That's what Jordan taught you, and what you taught us." The camp's philosophy was simple but profound. Every drill, every scrimmage, every moment was an opportunity to improve, not just as a player, but as a person. William incorporated elements from his experience with Jordan, teaching young players that the path to greatness wasn't about shortcuts or spectacle. During one memorable session, Charlotte Turner, a talented but frustrated player, complained about the emphasis on basics. "I can already do these drills in my sleep," she protested. William smiled, remembering his own similar protests. "Let me show you something," he said, demonstrating a simple chest pass. "When Jordan schooled me that morning, he didn't use any moves you couldn't find in a beginner's handbook. But every single one was perfect. That's what made him great, not the spectacular, but the mastery of the simple." The lesson resonated. Charlotte began approaching practice differently, understanding that excellence wasn't about doing extraordinary things, but about doing ordinary things extraordinarily well. The story of William's encounter with Jordan had become something of a local legend, but its true value lay in how it continued to shape new generations of players. Each year, William would take his team to the Bulls' practice facility, standing in the spot where Jordan had taught him his most valuable lesson. "This is where I learned what basketball really means," he would tell them. "It's not about proving you're better than someone else. It's about proving you're better than you were yesterday." Lucas Wright, one of his assistant coaches who had witnessed the original encounter, often marveled at how that single morning had created such a lasting impact. "You took what could have been just a humbling moment and turned it into a legacy," he told William. The legacy manifested in unexpected ways. William's players became known not just for their skills on the court, but for their sportsmanship, their work ethic, and their understanding of the game's deeper principles. Emma Phillips, who had covered the original story for the school paper, and was now a sports journalist, returned to write a follow-up piece titled The Jordan Lesson 5 Years Later. She interviewed players who had been influenced by Williams' experience and the ripple effect it had created. What happened that morning wasn't just about basketball, William told her. It was about understanding that true greatness isn't what you achieve for yourself. It's what you help others achieve. The interview coincided with the opening of a new youth basketball center in their community. William had been instrumental in its development, ensuring that its program emphasized both fundamental skills and character development. During the opening ceremony, Alexander Scott, one of William's first students who'd gone on to become a successful coach himself, spoke about the impact of William's mentorship. He taught us that every interaction is an opportunity to learn or to teach, Alexander said. That's what Jordan showed him, and what he showed us. The center became a symbol of how a single lesson, properly understood and sincerely transmitted, could transform an entire community. Young players arrived dreaming of spectacular plays and left understanding the beauty of fundamental excellence. William established a scholarship program at the center, named not after himself, but after the lesson, the Fundamental Future Fund. It supported young players who demonstrated not just athletic potential, but a commitment to personal growth and team success. One evening, as William locked up the gym after a practice session, he found Noah Young, one of his most promising players, still working on basic dribbling drills. "You know," Noah said, wiping sweat from his brow, "I used to think being great meant doing things nobody else could do, but now I understand it's about doing the simple things better than anybody else wants to." William smiled, hearing an echo of Jordan's wisdom in the young player's words. The lesson had come full circle, transforming from a personal, humbling moment into a guiding principle for future generations. The story continues to be told, not as a tale of defeat, but as a testament to the power of humility, hard work, and the endless journey of learning. In gyms across the country, coaches share it with their players, reminding them that true greatness isn't about the spectacle, it's about the substance. And somewhere in that Bulls practice facility, the echo of that morning's lesson still resonates. Greatness isn't a destination, it's a continuous journey of growth, learning, and helping others achieve their potential. Have you ever had a moment of failure that turned into your greatest lesson? Share your story in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more inspiring stories about life's most valuable teachings.